Estudiante universitario, Hey Festival Querétaro 2022 también es para ti. Del 1 al 3 de septiembre. En el Hey Joven y su programación gratuita para estudiantes en la Universidad Autónoma de Querétaro, TEC de Monterrey, Universidad Anáhuac, UNAM Juriquilla y Centro Cultural de la UNAM en el Centro Histórico, podrás explorar y debatir sobre diversos temas como ciencia, literatura, derechos humanos, tecnología, género y muchos más. De la mano de invitados como Tawakkul Karman, Premio Nobel de la Paz 2011, Mónica Lavín, Marta Peirano, Andrés Cota Iriart, Natalie Haynes, Carlos Briones, Antonio Martínez Ron, Lidiet Carrión, Lucía Ligmaer, George Macari, Francisco Carrillo, Juan Carlos Pérez, Cecilia Barría, Caitlin Moran. Acceso gratuito para estudiantes de todas las universidades en la República hasta completar aforos. Participa además en el programa general del Hey Festival Querétaro, solicitando tus boletos sin costo a través del correo electrónico tickets@heyfestival.org. Hey Festival Querétaro 2022. Imagina el mundo.
The girls, I don't want you to know what it's like to be an older woman. Like, kind of, there's no need for you to worry about it yet. Enjoy being young. So we won't talk about that book.
Well, that one, but I also thought that it was nice to present the book or in general the structure, because I think it's a clever structure, because it's like a set of tools, like in a storytelling code, that helps like maybe any woman, more a woman like of my age.
Yes.
But yeah, in general, I find like very clever and interesting to read a book that has a story that engages you through like the day, because it's presented like the day and the problems that come in the day of a woman's life.
Yes. One day, how busy a woman is in a day. You've got your to-do list and it never ends. There's a million things you have to do in a day and you'll only do half of them. And then you have to do it again the next day. And probably the most interesting information in there for the young women here is I'm talking about how important it is if you want to have a job and children when you grow older. It's very important what man you choose to marry, or woman, but I'm going to talk specifically about men. You cannot fall in love with and marry a bad boy, or a boy who's rock and roll, or a boy that is not going to be 50-50 with looking after the children and the housework. Because if you want to have a job and you want to have children, you need to make sure that you have a partner who is equal to you. Because I'm 47 now, and it's like an experiment. Every girl I know who married a bad boy who was really cool and he does not help with the children and doesn't help with the housework, her career is tiny and small and she is unhappy. And all the girls I know who married a good man who was like, yeah, I will go 50-50 on everything, her career is flourishing and she is happy. So you know the concept of the glass ceiling for women? You go through the glass ceiling in your job. You will marry your glass ceiling. You can't go any higher than the man you marry. If you've got a man who's even doing 40% of the childcare and housework, then you are still doing 60% and you will become very tired. and very resentful, and you will not have time to go and drink and see your friends and write books. So you must make sure you marry. In the book, I say, don't marry a cunt. And I don't know what the translation for that would be here.
Yeah,
but
and it's very straightforward.
yeah,
Like
it's one rule.
yes.
Don't marry a cunt, and then you'll be fine. Cunt is the rudest word in the English language. If you didn't know that before, that's my gift to you today. It's
So like we were talking before starting about how she writes and how she like takes decision on her writing. And the first question or the first thing I would like to talk about is like I believe that Caitlin's stories are very powerful, and I think that power comes from how she's a very gifted observer. And I would like her to tell us how she came to be a gifted observer.
so if you want to be observer, the good news is if your life is terrible now and you're not very popular and you don't have many friends and you aren't in any gangs and you aren't cool, that will make you a great observer. Because if you're not allowed to be part of the cool gang and you're kind of over here on your own, all you can do is observe. You aren't allowed to join in with the humans. So you're going to be over here watching humans and trying to work out how they work and noticing all the different types of human beings and also trying to work out why you are wrong. Why do people not like me? Why do I not have any friends? And that's a beautiful gift. The long-term benefit of being a miserable teenager is that you will later become an amazing writer because you'll have the spare time and you will have just sat and watched people enjoying their lives and you will have observed and learned a lot about them.
Yeah, and I like if you know, like Caitlin was homeschooled.
Yes. So my childhood, whenever I tell people, they think I'm making it up. So my parents had 8 children. They were hippies, very countercultural. They had 8 children, but they were very poor. We lived on welfare money, on benefits. And when I was 11, my parents said, you don't go to school anymore. No more school for you. And lots of people think they did that because they were very intellectual. And they were like, we can teach you better than the school could. Every day you can learn everything. All of life is a lesson. We can educate you 24 hours a day. That's not why my parents decided to educate us at home. It was because they were very lazy and they didn't like to get 8 sets of underwear and trousers and coats and shoes ready for the children every morning to go to school. So they just wanted to stay in bed and sleep. So that was why they took us out of school. It was too much hard work for them to get us to school every day. And so we never had a single lesson. I have no mathematics. I don't understand grammar. What we did was read. We went to the library every day and I read every book in that library. And we watched movies, musicals, comedies. So I now write films and I write TV shows because you don't need to be taught how to write a film or write a TV show. If you just watch TV and films, you'll know what a film should be like. You'll have a sense of what it should be like. You know the kind of thing you like and you don't like. And reading books, the best books, how a book looks when you open up a book, it's like opening a door and you go into another world. That's what a book is. It's an amazing piece of technology. You open a door and you go into another world. And if it's a good book, that writer will have put everything they know at that point in their life into that book. So once you've read that book, it's like you've lived your life and this person's life. You've lived 2 lives. And then if you need to read another book like that, it's like you've lived 3 lives. And it's the quickest way to feel like you're immortal or you've lived forever or you're a god. If you've read the lives of 50 people and learnt everything they have, that's a superpower to have. And psychologically, when you're reading a book written by someone who is talking to you in your head, you are developing the ability to know what it's like to be someone else. An incredible empathy. You must have read books where at the end of it, if it's a sad book, you're crying. You miss the characters in the book. You miss that book. That's your friend now, and you're so sad it's over. And that's because a great book, you have lived through that author. You were in their shoes. You were in that room when their baby died or when they got married or they said the stupid thing or the clever thing. You felt how they felt. And that's the beautiful thing that a book can do, because when you're watching TV or a movie, you're watching actors do that. You're just watching it. When you're reading a book, it's only words on a page. Your mind is imagining that mountain or that dragon or that wizard or that child. You and the author are working together. To read is not a passive act. It's something that you do together with the author. And there's no other art form like it. It's half me and half you if you read one of my books. And that's the thing that I love most about being a writer. You do it with everyone who reads your books. You're together in that adventure.
And I think when you write, like the book I read is really, really generous. Like there's, it's a door that is opened because you decide to open it, and you share a lot. It's like very funny, but also very intimate, and also very positive. Like you talk about very hard themes, but you make it like in a positive way. And I wanted to ask you how you decided that.
Oh, I can't stand a writer who's just telling you all the sad things in their life and is basically complaining and making you feel bad at the end of it. Like, you can talk about sad things and it's good to share, but I would only ever talk about something bad that had happened in my life if I can then go, and here's what I learned from it, and here's how you can make it better, and here's how you won't make that mistake. You should be useful. Otherwise, you're just complaining in a book and you're making someone spend money listening to you complaining, like some old man in a bar who's drunk too many beers and is just complaining about his life. And in the first book I wrote, How to Be a Woman, that's the story of my life from when I was 13, and realized, because I didn't know when I was a child that you had to grow up to be a woman. I thought you could stay a child for the rest of your life, that it was like optional to have periods and to grow breasts and to become a woman. And then when I found out you had to become a woman, that's what the book's about. Kind of going, how am I going to do this? Girls are supposed to be thin and blonde and pretty and quiet, and boys are supposed to fall in love with them, and I can't do that. And the book is about going, I'm a fat, hairy, quite smelly child. How am I going to turn into a grown-up? How can I make this have a happy ending? And so each chapter is about a different problem that you have as you're growing up as a woman. The first chapter is about getting my first period. The second one is about growing breasts. The third one is about growing hair and how you get rid of it, whether you should get rid of it. I very much believe that you should keep your pubic hair. I think it's it's like nature's underwear for you. Like, kind of, God has given you some lovely fur on your genitals, and like that's lovely and useful. It's also very soothing just to kind of comb through your pubes on a hot day and just be kind of like, it's like having a pet, like a cat or a dog. And then naming the vagina. Like, I don't know what words there are in Spanish for female genitalia, but like for men, in English, there are so many words for your penis, like cool words and kind of like strong words, and lots of different words for the way that men orgasm, like kind of like you're spaffing, you're jizzing, Kong has come, like morning glory, stiffly, boner. For women, when you are aroused, what words are there? How do you say I am aroused as a woman? We can't say we've got a boner, like kind of, there's no. And similarly with vaginas, men have got all these words for their genitals, and there really aren't that many words for women's genitals. And if there are, they're usually very rude and bad words. And in language, when you see a space and a silence, that tells you that the people that you're talking about there have had no power. They have not talked about this. They have not written books. They have not had the education to talk about this. They've never been able to make jokes about it or play about it, because until very recently, women did not receive an education. And it was seen as unthinkable for women to talk about these things. So I have a whole chapter where I come up with new words for vaginas, and new words for breasts, and new words for the female orgasm. And it's funny, and it should be funny, because that's one of the best things about being a woman. This is amazing. Being a woman is incredible. Let's have some fun with it.
And yeah, about language is Caitlin, she's a feminist, and I think the most important tool she uses for feminism is language. And you are always like talking about it, like how we should talk, but also use words to name our problems. And in this book for all ladies, she talks about like a lot of names we use to name problems in our bodies that does not exist. And I found that very funny and very true.
Yeah, I don't know what phrases have made it over here, but sort of like women don't see their body as one thing. They'll go, oh, I've got like a turkey neck, or I've got bingo wings, or I've got cankles. That means you've got fat ankles, or I've got muffin top, like kind of fat there. We make our bodies into all these different problems rather than just, no, it's your body. That's it. You don't need to name each part and hate it in a special way. Like, each of those body parts hasn't made a mistake. That's literally who you are. And I just think the fun with that, and particularly with language, like feminism, I'm a passionate feminist, But when I wrote the first book about feminism in 2010, I noticed that at that point in popular culture, we didn't talk about feminism. Feminists were just seen as angry women who hate men, and most people who were talking about it were academics. There was nothing in popular culture where you talked about feminism. This is before Beyonce, it's before Rihanna, it's before Amy Schumer. It was a time when we just weren't talking about feminism. And so I just wanted to talk about feminism, not in an academic, serious way, which is where people were talking about it then. I wanted to make it popular culture, to use conversational language so that anybody who read this book would understand what feminism was and could start talking about it themselves straight away. It was my way of going, here, now you can talk about this too. You don't need to have spent 20 years reading Simone de Beauvoir. You can just read this book, have a lot of jokes, and understand what it is to be feminist. And being a feminist is really simple. There are 2 rules to being a feminist. The first is, if you have a vagina, do you want to be in charge of it? Do you want to be the boss of your vagina? Do you want to be able to say what happens to it? If the answer to that is yes, then you are a feminist. And the second one is there something that you are having to worry about as a woman that men are not worrying about? Is there a problem that you and your girlfriends talk about that the men are not worrying about right now? They're not worrying about walking down a street on their own at night. They're not having to do that thing where you put your keys between your hands in case someone attacks you. They're not thinking, how will I have a child and work? They're not thinking, why am I being paid less? So that's, if whenever there's a problem that only women experience, that's when you go, that's what feminism needs to solve. That's why we have feminism, because there are problems that only women have. And that's why we invented feminism. It's to solve these problems. And feminism has. Feminism is incredible. If you look at the lives of our grandmothers 120 years ago, 2 generations back, women were not educated. Women were the legal property of men. You could not have a job unless your husband approved of it. Your husband could say, she is insane, and have you sent to a psychiatric institution. We couldn't wear trousers, we couldn't smoke, we couldn't talk about sex, we had no contraception. Now, women have the vote. Women can be educated. Women can own their own money. Women can own their own property. Women can go into space. They can become world leaders. And this is all because of feminism. Women invented, ordinary women across the world. No, there are no professional feminists. There are no laws of feminism. There's no feminism church or school. Ordinary women saw each problem that women had and went, I'm going to come up with a solution to that. And now we have this incredible, unpaid, amateur, crowdsourced network called feminism that allows women, for whatever problem they have, to solve it. And I wish men had that, because what I hear from young men now is young men saying it's actually harder to be a young man now than it is to be a young woman. And at first I was like, no, it's not. It's still harder to be a woman. But these boys will go, but all the problems that I have, like suicide for young men is ridiculous. In a divorce, men will lose custody of their children. Men are supposed to be big and tough and strong. Men are worried about being attacked. And there is nothing like feminism that allows men to talk about their problems. So that's the next book I'm writing. I want to try and explain how you could take something like feminism and use it to solve the problems of men. Because when the men are happy and the women are happy, we will all be happy. There's no point in just solving the problems of women. You need to solve the problems of men as well.
And there's a chapter in the book about that. And after I read it, I wanted to run and hug my son, because he's like, yes, he's going to face like this world when he's strong and very tough. And maybe he's not. And the thing that worries me the most is that they seem not to be able to have friends to cry to. I think that's a tragedy. Yes. And they should, like, we have them, like we can be their friends, but they can have male friends too.
That was one of the things I found when I was doing the research. I went on Twitter and asked men, what are the problems that you have? And the one that came up over and over again was men going, I look at how the women that I know have friends. And if they have a problem, they go and talk to their friends. Sometimes their friends will just turn up at the house and go, I know you're sad. You're coming out with me. We're going to talk about this and we're going to solve it. Women are looking at their friends all the time and taking care of them. Boys don't have that. Man after man, boy after boy was saying to me, I was at university for 3 years. I was chronically depressed. And I would go to a bar with my friends and I would say, I'm feeling a bit sad. And they would go, never mind, let's watch the football. and that would be the end of the conversation. Boys have not been taught to look after their friends. They don't know the language to start being able to say, I have a problem, I am anxious, I am depressed. And that's something men can learn. Women have learned so much from men over the last 100 years. We've taken so many of the things that were fun about being men, having money, having jobs, wearing trousers, smoking cigarettes, talking about sex. We went and took all the fun things of being men, and that's where we are now with feminism. But men have not taken any of the things from women. The idea that you can talk about your emotions, you can ask for help, you can say you're in trouble, that you can make yourself look amazing. You know, women can make themselves look amazing whenever they need to. Men can't do that. How can a man who feels, if a girl feels ugly, she can go, I'm going to put some lipstick on, I'm going to put on a nice dress, I will look great and feel good about myself. Boys don't have that option. What can boys do? Just put on some Axe deodorant. Like, kind of, that's the only option. So, you know, boys could learn so much from women about how we make ourselves happy, how we make a house comfortable, how we soothe ourselves, how we look after each other. You know, this war between the sexes is crazy because we're all here now. You know, we all know men, we all know women, we give birth to them, we marry them, we're related to them. And it just seems crazy that we still have things that these are the things that women do and must do. And these are the things that men do and must do. And you're never allowed to borrow off each other. Like, that's crazy. You know, we're here for such a small amount of time. And all the answers to all of our problems are here. And if we're not doing them because that's not what a woman does or not what a man does, we've missed the entire point of being alive. And the whole point of being alive is you try and solve your problems as quickly as possible so that you can experience as much joy as possible. This is an amazing world. You know, people are incredible. There are so many beautiful things to do, so many books to read and places to go and people to talk to. And if we're so consumed by our anxiety and our depression and feeling bad about ourselves that we don't get to enjoy our lives before we die, we've completely failed as a species. So, you know, it's a small agenda that I have in my books. It's to solve all problems so we can all be happy. That's what I always try and do.
It's amazing. Hola, hola. Yeah, the word you use to explain how guys doesn't have words to say they are anxious, it's like they say to each other, man up. You know, that like be a man. And the other thing, there is like this congresswoman that used to wear like very beautiful colors that I don't remember her name, Ruth something, Bader, yeah. Yeah, and she got like this phrase, like always when you see like in the patriarchy, like someone like the strong part losing, it means like the weak part is losing more. And I think like this problem that men are not taking woman things to them,
Yeah.
because they believe these woman things are less cool than them.
Yeah, because women traditionally have not had the power.
Yeah.
So everything to do with a woman is seen as inferior. That's why men don't walk around wearing dresses or wearing makeup or talking about their emotions or doing all the things that we think women do, because women were the losers. They were inferior. So why would a man do a womanly thing? That's inferior. Whereas women can take the things of men because that's the superior thing. We gain power when we take things that men traditionally have. And that tells you that there's still a massive gender imbalance. And that's, you know, that's unfair on all of us, that we still have these rigid ideas of what men should do and what women should do. And, you know, and there's no point in going, I only like women or I only like men, I'm in my tribe, because every unhappy person will make other people unhappy. Like, kind of this is, you know, every terrible thing that's happened in the world is because there was someone who was very unhappy and angry and they launched a war or got a gun or hurt someone. Like, kind of unhappy people do these things. And if they're being unhappy because of their gender and the way they were raised and because they're not given a way to solve their problems, we will all suffer.
There's a part on the book I keep talking about, but that I think it's important to talk, like how it happens you to be a public feminist, like in social media, because it's hard. Like social media is always asking you to have like a very radical world, like you have to set like stand in just one place, and you cannot even doubt. Like how do you live that?
Well, luckily, when I was very young, I started writing when I was 16. And when I was 16, I was working for the Times newspaper in London. And so I was a 16-year-old girl and whatever I read, people all over the country would read it. And that was a very unusual situation. I don't think there were any other 16-year-olds in the world who were writing and having a whole country read it. Now, of course, every 16-year-old in the world can write something and have the whole country and the whole world read it, because that's what social media is. One tweet, something on Instagram, something on TikTok, everybody gets to see it. And what you see happens on social media now with so many young people is exactly what happened to me 20 years ago. When I started being a writer, the quickest way to become a famous writer and for everyone to think you were cool was to be horrible, to be very critical, funny, but horrible. Just kind of like, I started as a music journalist, so I would be calling bands ugly and saying they would look like they smelt bad, that they made a sound like a cat dying. And that made me very popular. But you get to a certain point where you just go, I'm just making people sad. Like kind of, to make myself famous and popular, I'm telling someone who's just made some music. It's not a crime to make some music, even bad music. And I'm treating them like they're a criminal. And I cured myself of being a horrible person. And I just realized that the best thing that you can do in the world, if you don't like something that someone's doing, and this happens all the time in feminism and all politics, particularly on the left, is if you see a feminist doing something you don't like, you'll go on social media and try and destroy her. Just go, she is problematic, she has privilege, she used the wrong word, I don't like her ideas, I am destroying this feminist that I don't agree with. And then presumably you didn't like her because you thought you had better ideas. So then once you spent all your energy destroying her, you've then got to do the better thing. You've got to do your good idea and show the world your better idea. Why don't you just miss out the bit where you destroy the people you don't like? Just go straight to the bit where you make the amazing thing. And then we've got choice, because for some people, what she was doing might have been useful. It might have been exciting for them. So then you've got your bad feminists' ideas and your ideas, and everyone has a choice. And you've spent yourself months of destroying someone you don't agree with, and you've just gone straight to the fun bit, being creative, coming up with something new, figuring out a new solution. And if there was one thing that would make the world better, is people stop arguing with each other on social media and disagreeing with each other and going, you are wrong, and just go straight to the bit where you go, this is why I am right. Here's my new thing. Here's the incredible thing that I've invented. Then you get to choose. Do you like this or do you like that? That's the fun bit. And for your mental health, it's so much better, because if you start being the kind of person who's very sexy and critical and kind of, evil and bad online, there are nights where you will wake up and just go, what have I done? Because people will hate you. People will come after you. People will destroy you. And then you'll become a very anxious and depressed person. So it's just best to go straight to the bit where you're being amazing, and don't worry if someone else is getting it wrong. There's always someone on the internet getting it wrong. It's not your job to stop them. Go straight to being the person who's right on the internet.
And I think about like this very powerful phrase you have that is like, feminism is a set of tools, not rules.
Yes, that's one of the things that made me want to start writing popular culture feminist books and TV shows and movies. Was there are a lot of feminists who think that basically feminism is a science, and that there are rules to it, like there would be in chemistry or biology, and that you could see feminism through a microscope, and that there's a right feminism and a wrong feminism, and that there's a Bible of feminism, and that there are rules of feminism, and you have to stick to the rules or else you're a bad feminist. Big revelation. There aren't any rules in feminism. There isn't a Bible of feminism. There isn't a God of feminism. There isn't a queen of feminism. We made it up. It's an idea that loads of women across the world just made up to solve some problems. So once you realize that feminism isn't a set of rules, you can't get it wrong. It's just a set of tools that you use to work out what's going wrong in your life. Just a set of tools that allow you to go, oh, this is a bad thing that's happening to me because I'm a woman. These are the tools that have allowed me to recognize this, and these are the tools that we use to solve this problem. And once you realize that feminism isn't rules but tools, it suddenly becomes, it's very easy for you to go, yeah, I'm a feminist. Like kind of, yeah, I can't get it wrong. Like kind of, it's just about understanding. It's not about getting it right or wrong. No one at the end of a year is going to like tell you that you won feminism, and like there's lots of ticks on your work going, yay, you did all the feminism right. No one's ever going to come up to you and give you a crown and a medal. It's just a set of tools to make your life easier.
And one tool of feminism I found myself like very useful and caring is sisterhood. Like I love to know I have lots of sisters everywhere, and I can be like someone else's sister. And I think that that also comes with like a lot of responsibility. And I don't know how you deal with all the people with DMs on your, or asking you like, I was canceled, what can I do because you are a cool feminist, public feminist. Like, how you deal with that?
I think there's another thing that women, if any woman is in any way successful or powerful, one of the first questions you get asked is someone goes, "Oh, you are successful and powerful. How do you feel about that?" And what you're supposed to say is, "Oh no, I'm not powerful. I'm not successful. I'm just an idiot. I fall over all the time. Like, I'm just an idiot. Like, it's all been lucky, a huge accident that I've done this." We have to stop doing that. Like, women have to usually pretend they're a bit fucked up and not good at something by about 15 to 20%. We always have to pretend like, oh no, I'm clumsy and I hate myself a bit, like kind of like a delicious amount. You can never just go, I'm really beautiful. I work really hard. I've got some great ideas. I think I'm a nice person. You can't say that if you're a woman. You have to go, oh, I'm okay. If I put my lipstick on, like kind of I try. Nah, balls to that. Like, just stand up and go, yeah, I think I'm beautiful. I'm clever. I've got some ideas. I like people to listen to them. I was a big sister. I had 7 younger siblings. So I'm used to being in charge of people. Like, I'm a mum. I've got kids. So when I get people who are in trouble coming to me or talking to me on social media, asking for help or asking for my advice, it would be rude to go, oh no, I don't know. I'm an idiot. Don't pay any attention to me. I'm like, yeah, no, I know some stuff to help you. Like, I do this, do that. Women need to give themselves permission to be awesome. You need to give yourself permission in the morning to go, yeah, I am amazing. Like, I'm working really hard. I'm doing the best that I can. It's okay. I don't need to end that sentence with, but I'm still an idiot. You're not. You got out of bed this morning. You put your trousers on. You've done your work. You've eaten your breakfast. You didn't fall down the toilet. You're a competent, successful, brilliant woman. Well done. Like, don't pretend you're not.
And also, like, I am very amazed also about, like, you are very positive, but you do not deny sadness.
No.
And you share that like in a very powerful way in the book. And I think it's powerful because it was very hard.
So the one mistake, I've just said, I make no mistakes. I'm amazing. The one mistake I made as a mother is that I was scared of my children being sad. When I was growing up, if I was sad, my parents would be like, cheer up. I don't care. Sort it out. And I would cheer up and sort it out. But my daughter became clinically depressed and anxious and developed an eating disorder. And at the beginning of it, when she started to get ill, I was just like, you'll be okay. Cheer up. It'll be fine. And obviously you don't cheer up from clinical depression. So she got iller and iller. She stopped eating. And it took me a very long time to realize that my problem was I was scared of her sadness, that I could not go to her and go, I can see you're sad. It doesn't scare me. We're going to get through this together. Instead, I spent 2 years, and I don't know if anyone here has ever told their parents that they're depressed or anxious or they have an eating disorder or they self-harm, but your parents might have done one of these things. 1, try and cheer you up. Be so jolly. Go, we're going to watch a movie together and we'll eat popcorn. I'm going to make you so happy and then you won't be ill. Or they'll get angry with you and start going, you're making me feel really sad and anxious. Make yourself better. Why are you so ill? Why are you doing this? They'll try and educate you. You need to eat. You need the nutrients. You need to eat these things every day or else you'll become really weak and sad. I'm educating you like a TED talk. Or they'll cry and just go, you're making me feel so bad. You're making the whole family feel so bad. Get better. Stop being sad. Stop being depressed. Start eating. Stop cutting yourself up. And as you will know, if you've gone through that, none of that will work. What your parents need to do is to sit down and say, yeah, you've got a problem. I can see that. I'm not scared about it. I'm not going to be emotional about it. And I'm going to help you. And that's the point where your parents can help you. But your parents will not know that. My generation did not talk about anxiety or depression or eating disorders. You will all talk about it on social media. It's easier for you. But your parents, who are supposed to be helping you, we just have never talked about that. So that was why I wrote about it in the book, to tell parents, if your child is visibly cutting itself or not eating, that's because they can't talk to you anymore. They're having to show you on their body every day that they're sad. That's why they're doing this. They can't talk to you anymore. They need to make their body look sad. And you need to get to the point where they don't need to physically show you they're sad every day, and that your children can talk to you again. And that chapter in the book, I mean, I've had thousands and thousands of parents going, thank you for explaining that. I did not understand what was happening with my children. I love my children. I want to help them, but I did not know that this was what I needed to do. Because I give you some information now. Your parents don't really know that much. I know they look like they're telling you all the time, I'm in control of everything. I know everything. Listen to me. They're exactly like you, but just a lot tireder and a lot older. They don't know. They're not specialists in this stuff. They don't know. So that's what one of my great jobs as a writer is, that when I learn something, I can tell people about it. I get to be useful. So yeah, and my daughter is completely recovered now. Thankfully, she's now a musician. She's in a band. She's probably too well. She drinks a lot of cider and smokes a lot of cigarettes and makes a lot of noise. So in a way, I kind of wish she was a bit more depressed. Like, she was a lot easier to deal with then.
So, like, I feel very lucky to be able to talk to you, and I would like to share the privilege of asking questions with the people around. So I don't know if someone wants to ask something or say something.
Don't be shy. If you've got to think about a question, then I will sing until you feel brave enough. I will sing the songs of Kate Bush. I can't sing in her register. Those notes are too high for me, but that will not stop me. High on a windy, winding moor, we're all at full agreed. She wants it to stop. I had a temper like your jealousy. Yes, too hot, too greedy.
I was wondering how you came to write for the Times when you were 16 years old without ever going to school.
Good question. Yeah, that was a complete fluke, really. I entered, so we were very poor and we were on benefits. And there was a point where I thought that our welfare was going to be taken away from us and we would have no money. And I was 13 and very anxious. And I was like, I have to earn enough money to support my family. I have to save the family. And the only thing that I knew of that a girl could do who had no money and no friends and no power was you could write, because that's what Jo March does in Little Women. And I was like, right, okay, if that's what Jo March does to earn money in Little Women, that's what I can do. So I wrote a book about just a book for children, and that was published when I was 16. And when I was interviewed by a journalist from the Times, I'd found out that if you're an author, you don't, as I thought you do, get paid £10 million to write a book. I thought minimum £10 million to write a book. You don't. I got £2,000, which was, it's just a tiny amount. So I was talking to this journalist and I was like, how do you earn money from writing? Because I spent 2 years writing this book and I have had so little money from it. And she went, be a journalist. Then you write something every week and it gets published. So I wrote a load of columns, pieces for the newspaper, and just sent them to the paper, just posted them. And then 2 days later, I got a phone call from them saying, would you like to be a columnist on the Times? And I didn't know then that that's not usually how you get a job on an internationally famous paper. But at the same time, I did that because I knew of another poor working class writer from England called Keith Waterhouse. And that was what he did when he was 16. He just wrote a load of pieces for the paper and he would send them to the newspaper every day with a letter that said, here is the column I would have written for your paper today if you employed me. And he sent one every day. And on the 7th day, the editor went, oh, okay. Because one of the secrets about media is, if you do want to be a writer, because it's so hard to get paid work as a writer now, magazines and newspapers, their circulations have fallen, everything is online and free. But every editor at every newspaper and magazine and website, they have space to fill every day. And the advantage you have as young people is that there is no one on that paper anywhere near your age. Like, most people who work for magazines and newspapers are easily 40, 50, 60. And if you can contact them and go, this is what I can write, and I will explain what it's like to be young right now. Here's some stuff you don't know. They will want to know that. If you can tell them how different your life is to the lives of their readers. Also, their readers have children of your age who will want to read about what their children are getting up to. So that's your unique thing that you have to sell to a newspaper. They have space and they have no one your age writing this stuff. Don't think, oh, I'll become a writer when I'm older. The younger you do it, the better, because that's a sellable point. And you just need to think, what can I explain to people? What's interesting? What do the old people not know about being young now? That's what I'll write about. Or any other specialist subject that you have, but like kind of, you know, I don't know if it's different here, but if you go and read the newspaper you work for and go through it and see how many things in it you actually want to read that interest you, if there's nothing in that newspaper or magazine that interests you, then no one of your age will be interested in it either, and no one is buying that paper. And the one thing a newspaper wants is to have new young readers, because their older readers are dying. So they want to get new young readers. So if you can go to them, I'm 20, I read your newspaper, there was nothing in it that interested me at all. Here's 5 things that are happening to young people now that you don't know about. If they're clever, they'll go, and you can write well, they'll go, great, thank you. You have just brought new readers onto my newspaper. Thank you very much. Half of writing is working out what to write, and the other half is going, where can I sell this? You have to be both a writer and a reader. You have to go, who wants to read this? There's no point in writing something beautiful if you go, actually, the only person who wants to read this is my mom. You need to like think, yeah, what would 500,000 people like to know about my life right now? That's the piece to write.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello. Well, firstly, I just wanted to say I'm so excited that you're here.
Fuck, where are you from?
I'm actually British. But I grew up
Yes,
in,
I can tell. Yeah.
I sound extremely British, I'm aware. But I grew up in Spain, and growing up, you've really been like my feminist anthem. So I remember when I was about 12, my mum, as a family, we watched Raised by Wolves.
Oh, thank you. That was my TV show. Yeah.
That was so good. I was like, oh my God, she's fucking awesome.
Keep talking.
Yeah. And I've read all your books since then, and I've just been so inspired by all of them. I actually didn't know you were coming today. I just got a message from my friend. She was like, there's a feminist talking about pubic hair, and I think you'd really
That'll be
like
me.
this.
Yep, that's me.
So,
Yep.
and when I came around the corner, I was like, no. So thank you for coming. That's
Thank you for letting
amazing.
everyone else here know I'm actually quite a big deal and quite legendary in England.
Yeah,
It's
no,
good.
she's huge.
I
guys.
planted her there. Like, honestly, I'm like a god in England. So, like, thank you for saying that. Thank you.
I was like, what the fuck? Where are the rest of the crowd? Like, so one question that I have from your book, More Than a Woman, and
Yes.
it was a point that you made that I really resonated with. But when I tried to like eloquently kind of describe it to my friends, I really struggled. And it was when you said that women marry their glass ceilings.
Yes.
So your life and career will only ever be as good as the man you marry.
Yeah.
When you were describing it, I was like, yeah, that makes so much sense. And you obviously did it probably a lot more eloquently than I did. But when my friends kind of asked me for more depth to that argument, I was a bit like, I don't know.
It's just down to time and energy. All any human being has is time and energy.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to have children, then if you are spending more time and energy looking after the children than your partner, then your partner has more time and energy left over. They will use that to have an amazing career and earn more money and have a social life. So it's literally down to the mathematics of it. So even like I've got a lot of friends who go, I've got a really good husband. Like he does 46% of the childcare. And it's like, well, that still means that you're doing 54% of the childcare. That's more. That's not fair.
Yeah.
That means that 4% means that there's 2 extra hours that you're doing a week. It means that you can't spend those 2 hours going to the gym or seeing your friends or writing a book or just sleeping usually. And it's just not fair. And in your careers, it has been an experiment, and all the women of my age who've got husbands who do 50-50 or more, they have successful careers and they're happy. And the ones whose husbands do less, even if it's only slightly, they're just a bit tired and resentful because they know they're going to be dead in 30 years and they just will never have had the fun that they wanted to have because they were washing his trousers and looking after his children while he was going and having fun. And that will make you a bitter and unhappy person. So you marry your glass ceiling. Don't marry a cunt. That's the best advice I can give you.
I'll do my best, thank you. So, and just like, I guess a more general question about you, because in your books, one thing that I love, I always listen to your books, it's audiobooks actually,
Thanks.
which I normally don't do, but you have a really expressive way of narrating your stories, and I always feel like it's as if you're actually there. So I really enjoy listening to them as audiobooks. I also enjoy how much emotion you put into it as you're you know, when you were talking about your daughter's health problems, I could feel the sadness in your
Oh,
voice.
thank
It was
you.
really profound. So thank you.
I can tell you a secret. When you have to record an audio book, so you write the book and then they go, can you do the audio book? Can you narrate it? And the first time I had to do it, I thought, oh, it must be like being in a rock band, right? And you go into this amazing studio and they've got like an incredible microphone and it's like you're Amy Winehouse and like it's this amazing, you're on the microphone, you've got some mic technique, it's going to be like really rock and roll. No, you record it at home, they send you a microphone, you put it on your table, and then the audio sound, in order to make it sound good, you have to get the duvet off your bed and pillows and put it over your head, and you're under your duvet with a microphone like this, talking into it, and you are so sweaty and hot. Every time I've done my audiobook, it's been the middle of summer, and I'm just like under a duvet, just sort of going, yes, feminism, sad things, happy things, and I'm just under. And when my kids walk in and they just see mummy under a duvet talking about pubic hair, they're like, what's going on? I'm scared of you now. So yeah, it's not as glamorous as you think. I'm glad it worked. Thank you.
Oh yeah, I couldn't tell it too. It's very convincing. So just I guess a more general question about your life. What would you say has been one of the most like powerful moments you've experienced as a woman and as a feminist?
Well, I mean, there's loads of political stuff that I could do, but I think it's time for a celebrity story. The most powerful incident in my life was when I ended up in a sex club in Germany with Lady Gaga. And it was the start of her career when there was a rumor that she was actually a man. Like people didn't know if she was transgender or a man or a woman. And I was invited to go and interview her in Germany. And I don't know if any of you want to be journalists and interview celebrities, but I always used to think that if you were a journalist and you interviewed celebrities, maybe 10%, 20% of the celebrities that you went and interviewed, halfway through the interview would go, oh my God, you're so fucking cool. I want to be your friend. What are you doing after this? Let's go out and get drunk together and then go up in my helicopter. That never happens. Like never. I've interviewed thousands and I've interviewed Paul McCartney, Robbie Williams, like Benedict Cumberbatch, like Greta Thunberg. That never happens, except that night when I interviewed Lady Gaga after the gig, she went, you're really cool. Let's go and hang out. I'm going to a sex club in Germany. Do you want to come with me? And I was like, yeah. So she comes out the dressing room. She's wearing just a bra, pants, fishnet stockings, and this cape, this kind of cloak that apparently was by Alexander McQueen, the designer, that was worth £20,000. And we get into a limousine and we leave the arena and we're immediately pursued by paparazzi, like kind of on motorbikes, in cars, trying to flash through the window at her. The limousine goes faster and faster. And then we go down this alleyway and suddenly these gates close behind us, trapping the paparazzi on the other side. And this sex club has gates that stop the paparazzi getting in. So we're on the other side of the gates. We're fine now. No one can see us. We get out the limousine. We go into the sex club. And I was with her press officer, who's a friend of mine, this really lovely boy called Adrian. I'd never been to a sex club before. We walk in. It's a very graphic sex club. There are people having sex on the floor. There are people like in bathtubs, kind of like having a poo, like kind of, there are people pissing on each other. There's fisting going on. There are people hanging from chains on the ceiling. And I just turn to a press officer and go, oh my God, you can smoke indoors here. Everyone's smoking indoors. That was all I noticed. And then if you go out with a famous person, what happens is the famous person goes and sits in a corner and their press officers go to the bar and get the drinks. The famous person goes into the VIP area and you don't see them. This is not what Lady Gaga does. Lady Gaga goes up to the bar where a man is hanging in chains above the bar, turns around to the entire club, goes, who wants a drink? Every 200 people put their hands up and go, yes. She tells the barman, get everyone what they want, and then reaches into her bra and brings out fistfuls of euros and puts them down on the bar and buys everyone in the room a drink. And then we go into a corner and she asks me if I've got a cigarette and we go choose on a cigarette. And then after about 2 hours, we've been talking all the time, getting really, really drunk. We're dancing. And then she goes, do you want to come to the toilet with me? And I'm like, oh God, well, I know what that means. That's drugs. I'm now an old woman. I have 2 children. I haven't done drugs since 1995. I don't even know what the drugs are now. Maybe you take them in a different way. Maybe you put them up your bum and in your eye. I don't know. but I've got to go to the toilet with Lady Gaga and take whatever drugs she's got, because this is a story, right? It's an anecdote. So we go to the toilet. I stand there like, oh, where are the drugs? She goes, no, I noticed what you're wearing. You've got a zip down the back, and it would be very difficult for you to take this off without help. So I'm here to help you unzip your top so you can go to the toilet. So that's so kind of you, Lady Gaga. You're such a sister. But then I've unzipped my top. I sit on the toilet to have a waz, and I realize that I'm going to sit here now urinating while Lady Gaga is watching me. So I've got to try and think of what conversation you'll have with someone while you're in a toilet with the most famous woman in the world. I do quite well. And at the end of it, I look around for the toilet paper, and Lady Gaga reaches over where there's a towel, a very beautiful, fluffy, luxurious towel, because we're in the VIP toilets, and hands me the towel and goes, wipe with this. So I wipe with a towel, a luxurious, fluffy towel, go, this is what it's like being a celebrity. Like, all celebrities must just wipe with a towel. I get up, and then Lady Gaga sits down. She doesn't take her clothes off. She just pulls her pants to one side, wheezes through her stockings whilst talking to me, then takes another towel, wipes, and we get up and go. But that was the point where, because at that point, everyone was like, is she a man? That night, I was able to confirm she's not, because I literally stared right into her genitals. And I can confirm Lady Gaga has a vagina. She is a woman. And she's also a bloody good feminist and sister, because she took me to the toilet. And that's the mark of a true celebrity and friend.
First, excuse my ignorance, but which of your books you think it's the best gift to a teenager's mom?
To a teenager's mum or a teenager?
A teenager's mom.
Oh, More Than a Woman, I think. That's the one about being a parent, definitely. But for a teenager, How to Be a Woman. That's all about being a teenager and being a young woman. But yeah, if it's a mom who's having a difficult time with a teenager, then yeah, More Than a Woman. That's the latest one. And if it's for your mum, because she doesn't understand you, well done. Hopefully it will make things better. I hope so.
All right. Yeah, there we go. Thank you, Dave. So I run a girls group with young women from the age of 10 to 14.
Yeah.
And it's awesome. It's been so cool. Like, like kind of remembering what it was like being that age and how confusing everything is, and watching them navigate that, and kind of being able to, in some way, provide some wisdom into what it is to be a woman and how you can make that so glorious. And in my last session, we had a new girl who came into the group, and we talked about feminism, which wasn't a topic I'd introduced before because we'd been focusing on other things. And one of the girls said, I'm definitely a feminist. Like, I know I'm a feminist, I'm sure. But the other girls in the group weren't so sure. They were kind of like, oh, I might be, I might not be, like, I don't really know. And then one of the girls had the most hilariously fantastic response. She was like, I'd love to be a feminist, but with school and learning a new language, like, I just don't have time right now. And it was very funny, but I also was kind of like, okay, how do I explain feminism in a way that is appealing, empowering, but also really easy? Because I think it's become very like ambiguous now what feminism is and how you are a feminist and what isn't feminist and what it looks like and how it dresses and all of these different things. It's become like very hard to describe even as a political movement because it's very fragmented. So how can I make that an accessible term for young, like 10 to 14-year-old girls?
I mean, the first thing to explain is, like, as I was saying before, there is no feminist Bible or rules. You can't do feminism wrong or right. And I genuinely think if 60 million women are feminists, then there are 60 million different kinds of feminism. Like, there isn't one kind of feminism and all the rest are wrong. You all have your own feminism. But when she was saying, I don't think I'm a feminist, or I'm not sure if I'm a feminist, I had one of the reasons that I wrote How to Be a Woman, because I'd heard so many women saying this. And I just went, look, if you're standing with me now in public without a male escort, and you went to school and then you went to university and you want to have a job and you believe that rape should be illegal and you want to own your own money, then you already are a feminist. Like my job today is to say to you, congratulations, you have always been a feminist. You've lived a feminist life all of your life. And the only reason that you have lived that life is because millions of other women before you who said, I am a feminist, changed things for you. And if you think of things that you find difficult in your life, that you think are unfair for girls, you could now be one of those girls who changes it for the next girls. That's the beautiful thing about feminism. And it doesn't have to be a big thing. It's not like if you're going to be like a feminist activist that you have to like organize a gigantic march or change legislation. It's just simple things like, you know, providing sanitary towels in schools for free so that girls don't have to pay to menstruate. You know, it's just about, you know, having instant where if there's boys, there's a big initiative in the UK at the moment where if boys shout out abuse to girls, that you're educated for how to stop them doing that, to stop catcalling, to stop whistling, to stop abuse, you know, and bringing boys into that. You just, you know, if you get boys, you just go, that's not cool. There's a boy in the street going, hey, bitch, look at me, give us a smile. You just need a boy to go, mate, that's not cool. Don't do that. You know, it can be the littlest things. So that's, tell her, like, I think the point where feminism becomes really attractive is when you realize, oh, it's something I can do. It's not something that I go around saying I am, or like, you know, that I can get wrong or right. It's something I'm going to go and do, and it's going to be fun. And I'm going to take all my friends and my sisters with me, and we're going to go and do some feminism now. What thing is most annoying about being a girl today? I'm going to fix it.
It's really interesting looking at the like historical context of women with them, because a lot of them were quite shocked about some of the things that we weren't allowed to do, like historically, and I think for them that was really like, because I think that now like we do grow up with a lot more privileges than we've ever had, and it's kind of easy to forget that it's important to be a feminist, and that standing up for the little things like is still relevant and is still going to make a big difference. But yeah, some of them were like, what? We weren't allowed to wear trousers? That's insane. How could that be possible?
Just the fact that married women weren't allowed to have jobs. Girls weren't educated. Like kind of like, you know, girls couldn't go to university. Girls couldn't go to school. And that was very, very recently. Like kind of like that's, you know, when you tell young women who don't know if they're a feminist or not, like kind of you tell them that, and then they're kind of, unless they hate school, at which point they're like, God, I wish girls didn't have to go to school. I would go to the mall and drink. That would be awesome. Yeah.
And just one last question. So I'm wondering, like, as your daughters have been growing up, because this is something that I've got a younger sister, and I really try to use the right anatomical terms for like female anatomy, particularly because I think it's very important. But she sometimes is a bit weirded out by it. So I was wondering, like, what terms have you used for female genitalia with your children, and what term do you use yourself?
I think when it comes to talking about female genitalia, the language, you need to know the technical terms, but you also, you know, you get to invent a word yourself or find one that's fun. It's a bit like Batman. You know, Batman is both Bruce Wayne and the Batman. You know, his formal proper name is Bruce Wayne. The formal proper term for this is the vagina or the vulva. And then I have my Batman name, my superhero name for my vagina, which at the moment is, well, I've always really enjoyed cunt, but yeah, like, you know, you get to be Batman about your genitals. They can have their official name for in society, and then you have your Batman superhero name for your vagina, and you get to choose what that is. That's the fun bit.
Thank you. I love that analogy. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Katie, for being here. Thanks for sharing with us, and yeah, coming to Querétaro to talk about your book and yeah, to have a chat to us. Thank you everyone for being here, and thank you Maria Jose for organizing this great event. And thank you, Juan, my son, who came to see me. Thanks for being here.
Estudiante universitario, Hey Festival Querétaro 2022 también es para ti. Del 1 al 3 de septiembre. En el Hey Joven y su programación gratuita para estudiantes en la Universidad Autónoma de Querétaro, TEC de Monterrey, Universidad Anáhuac, UNAM Juriquilla y Centro Cultural de la UNAM en el Centro Histórico, podrás explorar y debatir sobre diversos temas como ciencia, literatura, derechos humanos, tecnología, género y muchos más. De la mano de invitados como Tawakkul Karman, Premio Nobel de la Paz 2011. Mónica Lavín, Marta Peirano, Andrés Cota Iriart, Natalie Haynes, Carlos Briones, Antonio Martínez Ron, Lidiet Carrión, Lucía Ligmaer, George Macari, Francisco Carrillo, Juan Carlos Pérez, Cecilia Barría, Caitlin Moran. Acceso gratuito para estudiantes de todas las universidades en la República hasta completar aforos. Participa además en el programa general del Hey Festival Querétaro, solicitando tus boletos sin costo a través del correo electrónico tickets@heyfestival.org. Hey Festival Querétaro 2022. Imagina el mundo.